Hi boys and girls, today we are going to be talking about fractions and decimals. And you can see that on the board I have a strip that I've cut into or drawn lines so that I now have 10 equal parts. So what I'd like you to do in your math duotang is to draw a strip like this. Might want to have a ruler unless you got a real steady hand. And I want you to start labeling it 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, all the way along. Now if you have 5/10, of course you've got 5 out of 10, so you would have half. And if you have 10 out of 10, you would have the whole thing. Okay? Now I want you to take a look at place value. So we're kind of pulling different ideas together. So think of one piece of spaghetti and another piece of spaghetti coming together. They're both spaghetti, but maybe they're a little bit different, right? In the way you're thinking about them. So here are your tenths, here are your decimals, and here's your place value. So remember that 0 means there is less than a whole. And of course, if you start thinking about your place value, you know that you've got a decimal here. Here's your ones place value, your tens place value, and of course you keep going. Or you go into your parts, and your parts are your tenths and your hundredths. And I always think it's kind of fun to go, you know, put a at the end of it, kind of like you have a little bit of a lisp, and then that'll help you remember that tenths and hundredths and so on going this way, okay? So we have 1 out of 10, and that's 0.1, 2 out of 10, 0.2, and so on. So you could write this on your chart. Take a look at it. And moving on, let's just imagine that I was lucky enough to have 10 rings, one for every one of my fingers. And maybe 2 of those are blue. Maybe my little pinky ones would be blue. I don't know, just because I think that'd be sort of fun. So if 2 rings are blue, then the fraction would be 2 out of 10. And we could write that as a decimal of 0.2. So in today's lesson, we're looking at writing fractions like a decimal. So if you have 5 flowers that are red and 5 flowers that are blue, you would be saying that you have 5 out of 10, because it's 10 in total, that are red, so that would become 0.5. And you also have 5 out of 10, 0.5 that are blue. You can look around your house, and maybe you can look at number of pieces of furniture. See if you can find 10 pieces of furniture and think about whether or not they are different colors, etc. You can look at cutlery, you can look at your markers. Remember our little marker video earlier? Find 10 markers, just randomly pluck them out and write down, draw your little rectangle like this, divide it into the 10 equal parts, write down your tenths, and then also write down your decimals, and then kind of play a little game with yourself a little bit. Oh, how many are green? Maybe 3 out of 10 are green, so 3/10, 0.3. So it's just a way of thinking about fractions a little bit differently and thinking about them as they're related to decimals. We're also going to be talking about how they are related to percent. And I know with some of you, we have talked about that a little bit. And remembering that percent is out of 100. And of course, that takes us into this place value right here into hundredths. Okay, so that's it for today. Hopefully you are understanding this. We will talk about it in our one-to-one sessions. And maybe I'll be lucky enough to find 10 rings. Who knows? Bye for now.